This is a question we get a lot from people that are buying a multi-effects pedal. They will ask us, does this thing have good sounds in it? And the answer is, it depends on what you mean by that. If you mean, does the wah pedal sound good? Does the chorus sound good? Does the reverb sound good? Well, yes, because we vet these pedals before we decide to carry them. And if they don't have good sounds in them, we're not going to carry them. If you're asking, are the presets in this pedal, the factory presets, do they sound good on violin? The answer is no, they don't. In fact, they're made for guitars and they very seldom sound good on guitars. Now, there is one notable exception to that. The Zoom A1 pedals actually do have violin-specific presets in there. Thank you. We've been waiting for this forever. And they sound pretty good. Apart from that, I would say that almost no multi-effects pedal has presets in it that sound good on the violin. We'll get calls from people going, well, I flipped through all the sounds and none of them sound good. That's not what those are there for. The honest truth, remember the old Casio keyboards that you'd buy those and there was a button that said demo on it and you'd hit the button, it would play this cheesy song, you're like, woo, doo, 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 and it's got all these crazy sounds in it. The purpose of that was for you to be able to hear a bunch of the different tones that that keyboard has in it. Nobody's going to walk up on stage, plug the keyboard in, hit demo, and stand back and go, there's the show, everybody. Thanks for coming out. It is a demonstration to show you, the user, what some of the possibilities with this piece of gear are. That's what the factory presets inside a multi-effects pedal do. It's a demonstration of what this gear can do. These are crazy sounds. They're like, hey, we can put garlic in the ice cream. You're like, no, you can, but you shouldn't do that, okay? We can put Fruity Pebbles in the lasagna. You can, but no reasonable person is going to do that, okay? So it is a demonstration of what the gear can do. It's not generally meant to be like, hey, here's a bunch of presets. You can just take these out and go get work. Generally, what I will do is I will look at the structure of some of those presets and go, oh, yeah, that's kind of a cool way that they routed this thing into that. And I didn't realize that this multi-effects pedal, that you could do all this crazy routing. That gives me some ideas of things that I could do on something that's actually going to sound good. So to me, that is the purpose of the factory presets, is to give you an idea of some of the capabilities of the pedal. It's never going to be like, oh, these are good sounds that you can just go out and start touring with, okay? So generally what I will do is I will start from scratch. I will say, hey, I know I'm going to need to make some sounds. A lot of these multi-effects pedals will have what they call a user bank. So you can go in and they're empty and you can start building your sounds in this user bank. If your multi-effects pedal does not have a user bank, it's just got like, 100 factory presets or something in it, just delete some of the factory presets. You're not going to use them anyway. I would start from scratch. I would delete all the little blocks that are in there and start with a completely empty signal path. Just you plug your violin or your cello or your viola, you plug it in. There's no processing at all. It goes out to a speaker. That's how I would start. And you're like, why am I deleting all this stuff? Listen, you spent thousands of hours learning how to play your instrument, how to make a good sound with your instrument. Don't get lazy now, okay? There's a couple hours between you and having a good sound, and you're going to expect your audience to sit and listen to this for hours on end. Don't get lazy now. Don't cheap out. We're going to spend a little bit of time to get the sound that we want out of our instrument and our gear. So the first thing I would do, I would put an EQ block, I would put a reverb block, and if your multi-effects pedal has a expression pedal on it, I would put a volume pedal in there. And I would start with just those three. And then I'm going to start messing around with that EQ to get the sound that I want from my instrument. I would put just a little bit of reverb on it to start with. Then I'm going to try to get this EQ right. And then I'm going to spend some time, maybe with some reference recordings. I'm going to listen to some violin tracks from other people, and I'm not trying to match articulation. I'm not trying to match like the woodiness of the tone or anything, but just an overall EQ. How bright is it? How thick is it? How warm is it? I'm going to try to get that EQ about right. I'm going to dial in a little bit of reverb. to make it sound like I'm in a room and it's not real dark and close. And that's going to be what I'm going to call my bass preset. I've got the EQ right. I've got the reverb. I've got my volume pedal in there. I'm going to save that as my bass preset. And then anything else I want to add after that, I will copy this bass preset to the next slot, and then I will add in the next things that I want to do, okay? And then I will always come back after I make a new sound. I will come back to that bass preset, and I'll go, does this new sound actually sound better? Because sometimes we'll spend a bunch of time messing around, right? I'm going to add all this other stuff, throw in some compression, I'm going to throw this and all that in, and I'm going to go back to my bass preset and go, oh, I did a bunch of work and actually made it sound worse. And that's just part of the process. Don't worry about it. That's part of the deal. But keep your bass preset, copy it to the next slot, and then add in the things that you want to do. And that's going to get you to where you want to go a whole lot faster. Always remember, technique first. We want to play the instrument in such a way that it gets us as close to the sound that we're looking for as we can get, right? I want something really bitey sounding. I'm going to start trying to get bitey with my right hand before I start trying to EQ something in. You are an instrument player. You are a musician. Use your technique to get you as close as you can to the sound you want, and then we start using effects, okay? So after I've got a good bass sound, what are the effects that I want to try next? I would say probably delay, chorus, distortion, and I don't necessarily mean like, yo, distortion, man. I mean, that's what I do, but probably for you, we've got a video on distortion where you can use distortion to make your clean sounds warmer. And it's just the slightest hint of distortion in there. I would try some of that. And I would try things like phasers and flangers to maybe widen my sound a little bit, to give myself a little bit more depth or width. Generally with these things, I would say if you want a clean sound like most players do, less is more. So that's where I would go after I get a good bass sound. But I'd say the bass sound, EQ, a little bit of reverb and a volume pedal. And then that's going to be the one that you copy and add other effects to. So yeah, that's, I think, going to be the best way to get started with a multi-effects pedal is skip the factory presets entirely, start from scratch, and then we're going to build something that's right for us. So I hope that's helpful for you. As always, please mash subscribe, check out some of these other videos that we've got, and we will see you guys next time.